You have to truly believe in the magic.
Hey, Magic fans, and welcome to Penny for Your Thoughts, the podcast of the Orlando Magic UK. This is our second podcast of this week. We've got a lot to talk about, including a bit about Summer League and a look at the team in depth and the rotations. I'm Paul, your host for tonight, and as always, I'm joined by my brothers in optimism, Mikey and Geraint. G, how are you doing, mate?
Very good, thank you, mate. I like that, brothers in optimism.
I think it's the best way of describing the life of a Magic fan. And particularly any sports fan at this point of the season, you always start off with that. We're going to do all right this year.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
definitely.
Good man. And Mikey, you well, bud?
Being a Liverpool fan, we told ourselves that for 30 years. We're going to win it this year. This is our year. So, yeah.
Hey, you've got to be right at one point, isn't it? What, 2 seasons ago you were?
Yeah, this year we'll be all right. We'll be contenders again this season.
I think Man City might have something to say about that.
We'll see.
Once they get the checkbook out again,
they got to get past the man mountain at the back when he's
back, isn't he, for you? He's back for you. Anyway, enough about the football and on to the Magic. We've got quite a bit to talk about, and we didn't get a chance to do any news roundup previously, so this one kind of covers from the start of free agency. So there's quite a bit to blast through. So let's dive in. Coaching staff, we've announced that is now completed. We have taken on Nate Tibbetts, Jesse Mermis, Dale Osborne, Brett Brielmeyer, and Lionel Chalmers. All have a reputation of player development and have got extensive NBA experience. We've officially signed Jaylen Suggs and Franz Wagner. I keep saying Frank because the autocorrect is putting Frank every time on my nose.
We'll call him Frank,
Doesn't matter how many times I've changed it. Franz Wagner.
So and there was always going to be a tongue twister there in the assistant coaches for you there, Paul, wasn't there?
Mate, do you know what? I've actually looked. I've found videos of them both pronouncing their names, so that is actually how you pronounce them. I have been on YouTube deliberately. Jesse Mermis and Brett Brielmeyer. I've actually been and looked, so I wasn't going to get caught out as usual.
Nice.
We've also re-signed Moe Wagner on a 2-year deal. We've waived Dwayne Bacon, who has now signed to the Knicks. Ignas Brazdeikis, we've signed him to a 2-way deal. Being a 2-way deal, that means he's affiliated to our G League team, the Lakeland Magic, and it means that he can only be on the active list for the Orlando Magic for 50 games in the season. That now leaves us with 1 2-way slot available and a single roster spot to fill. Josh Robbins in The Athletic anticipates that Orlando will probably leave the final roster spot available in case the opportunity arises for the team to take on an unwanted contract along with a draft pick. To use the sizable trade exception that we have. I'm sure that we might touch on that in a bit when it comes to the future for the rotations and the like. Mo Bamba turned up at Vegas for Summer League practice, not taking part in the games, but he turned up for practice. He was quoted as saying, "We got a new coach, new system, new guys, and I just wanted to get well acclimated way before training camp." Wendell Carter Jr. has now also travelled to join in with the team practice. Team members are in attendance in Vegas watching, particularly I saw in Game 1, Summer League there. And finally, Lakeland Magic have a new coach, Joe Barra. I've got no idea I'm pronouncing that one.
Any other attempts?
Couldn't find that. He's been promoted from within. He's had 4 years as the assistant to Stan Heath. So, G, what's a couple of thoughts on the week, mate?
Well, I think you got to look first at the releasing of Dwayne Bacon. I think that is the right move to make. He came in last year. He did get a lot of stick, but he was a very capable scorer, I thought. But if you keep him on the roster whilst he is cheap, he's just going to eat up some minutes of your young guard rotation. And with Cole Anthony, Jaylen Suggs, Markelle Fultz, RJ Hampton, and even Michael Carter-Williams, there's going to be too many bodies and not enough minutes there to go around. We need to be playing the young guards more than your veterans, just to develop them. So whilst this, he was a good servant, he came in on the cheap. It was probably the right move, and you'd like to wish him every success.
Yeah.
And it's sad, really, to not have a Bacon on the roster now, isn't it?
Right. And for our kid Heather, she was really annoyed because she bought the shirt.
Yeah, of course. Well,
Yet again, mate, the Bacon curse of buying a team player shirt has worked. Or for some Magic fans, they will consider that's a good move this time around.
Yeah. So other than that, I just like the fact that Bamba and Carter Jr. and everybody, it seems are buying in and traveling to the Summer League camp in Las Vegas, just to get a feel and get to know everybody, the system, the new coaches, and it does really feel like a nice little sort of family, feel to the players. They're all brothers together. You saw that with RJ Hampton and Cole Anthony when Jaylen Suggs was drafted, and there's a nice real bond there. And that's good to see, because I don't think we've seen that for quite a while now. And it is going to be a long, grueling season. So let's get them in all at once and see what they can do.
Yeah, I agree. Mikey, for you, anything?
Yeah, let's talk about Moe Wagner. I think we're all pretty pleased to see him back on the roster this season. Somebody who's a good competitor, plays with a bit of a chip on his shoulder. He's got that little bit of edge. He's annoying to play against. He's also only 24, so again, another young player to add to the group. Provides some good depth at the 4-5 position. He only played 11 games towards the end of the season after we picked him up last season. But in 26 minutes, he averaged 11 and 5, shooting 41% from the field, 37% from 3 on 43 attempts, 88% from the line. I think obviously a key part to him coming back was drafting Frank, as Paul calls him. But hopefully that'll help him settle into the roster and the way Orlando want to play this season. I don't think we've seen any details on the contract, but I would imagine it's a near a minimum deal in terms of how much we're paying him. And I wouldn't be surprised if the second year is non-guaranteed to try and keep that future flexibility with the cap next season. So Wagner's definitely a good pickup. He already knows some of these players, so he should fit straight in. Who haven't we talked about? Iggy.
Happy with Iggy?
Yeah, absolutely. Getting Iggy with it on a two-way deal. So I'm
not doing a dance for that bit.
Oh, mate, we've got to see that next week. We've already seen Iggy playing in Summer League. He's playing pretty well in the minutes he's getting. Two good pickups. I don't think we ever expected the Magic to make any significant moves after the draft went down. So I think we can all be pretty pleased. Yeah,
I agree. And I'm just the one thing we haven't touched on there, the coaching pickups. I think when you look at the pedigree that the guys have got for the teams that they've worked with, there's the Raptors, there's the Lakers, I think there's Denver, there's certainly Sacramento Kings, where been involved in the player development there around Fox and whatever. So I'm happy again at what they've done there. I think that's looking good. Whilst there's no names that you look at, they jump out at you. I think it's a good solid set of pickups, and it seems to have been universally well received again. So let's move on. Before we do, I apologise to everybody. Shameless plug time. It's something that we do, but as you know, we are affiliated to NBA League Pass, Fanatics, and to the NBA Store Europe. So if you're looking to make any purchases, please join their websites by clicking on the affiliate links on our social media pages and website. Also use Magic UK 10 at the checkout for a 10% discount with Fanatics and the NBA Store Europe, but some exclusions do apply. International shipping is also offered by NBA Europe and Fanatics, I believe. So if you fancy, say, a Lionel Messi Paris Saint-Germain shirt, head over to Fanatics. who have a whole host of football team shirts, or for our American friends, soccer, along with the NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. And by doing this, it helps us pay for what we do, and we do truly appreciate it. Let's move on to Summer League. Now, I know you two guys have both been struggling through work to actually have a proper look at the game, so I'm going to test you a little bit here. Game one, we opened it up against Golden State Warriors with a 91-89 overtime win. We saw the debuts of both Jaylen Suggs and Franz Wagner getting there. So, G, have you got any great thoughts about the game?
Well, yeah, I enjoyed the game. But firstly, for me, the Summer League, the result really isn't important. You've got, 15, 20 players or whatever it is, all thrown in, not having that much practice together. So you've really got to take it all with a pinch of salt. Whilst we saw a great debut from Jaylen Suggs with 24 points, 9 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 steals, and he had a couple of key plays. I think there was one with 50 seconds to go. It was a 2-on-1 fast break that he was defending on, and he put a stop to that, and that might have put Golden State up for good. Luckily, we got the stop. It went to overtime, and we won the game. So he got some decent numbers. The only thing that was a little bit alarming, but like I said, Summer League isn't that important. He was a minus 18 on the game when he was in the game. But that was the only sort of negative, if you want to say, about Suggs' game in that particular game. Then we saw Wagner. He, again, wasn't up to speed because, again, you're playing with new players. So his figures were 5 points on, 2 of, I can't remember what it was now, shooting, 4 rebounds, 3 assists in 28 minutes. He, again, was a minus 14. And we did see, Cole Anthony, 6 points, RJ Hampton, 9 points. But I think we were carried by Doughton and Gravett in the game that managed to get us a W. So whilst we only shot 38%, you've got to remember it's a new system. Nobody's played with one another before. And you were up against some decent opposition with Moses Moody, Kuminga, Gary Payton II, who's renowned as a very good defender. So good outing, nice to get the W, but I'm not reading too much into it. And the last point, our rookie from 2015. I know Mikey's going to come to it in a little bit, but my God, I love him. He is fantastic. His teamer.
I'm going to have a shameless moment and say that I am so pleased that I mentioned him 2 weeks ago on the pod as somebody to watch, that he was an interesting prospect. So, Mikey, game 2, the 94-84 loss to the Cavs last night. What were your thoughts on it? I know that I know you were struggling to see parts of it.
Yeah, I've been watching it in like 15-minute blocks throughout the day, so I'm kind of a bit all over the place in terms of what happened. I think really, I think we got off to a good start from what I can remember. I think we fell in love with the 3 a little bit too much.
Oh yeah.
And to begin with, it started going down. Hampton hit the first 3 of the game, and I think they probably settled a little bit too much. And I think Cole Anthony's performance maybe in the first 2 games, he's probably a bit of a barometer for the way we played in the second game against the Cavs. Very inefficient scoring from the field, struggling shooting the ball. I think one of the things Jamal Mosley talked about was wanting to play with the pass, and I don't think we've really seen much of that. It seems to be a bit of a let's play one-on-one. We seem to be forcing things a little bit too much, maybe driving into the lane and ended up with nowhere to go and trying to kick the ball out to people that aren't really open. And there's not much flow to the offense at the moment. And I think that told a story really in the Cavs game. And they got down, I think it was by 17 points, 17 points.
Good solid double digits, yeah.
and I think they pulled it back within single digits in the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, but they were really up against it, especially when Mobley come back in and the Cavs starters then.
I don't know where you picked up on that section in the third where we missed multiple drives, missed multiple simple baskets in the third quarter. And that's where they seem to blow the lead open. I think it might have been a different game if we hadn't allowed that lead to develop. But as G said, it's some league. We're not that worried. So
I think the other thing with that second game is half time probably come at the wrong time for us, because Suggs had that great putback dunk with about a minute to go.
I was about to mention that, mate.
Cole Anthony took the charge up the other end, and that sort of fired them up a little bit and gave them a little bit of juice. And then half time come, and then they sort of lost that rhythm then. But hey, like I said, the result doesn't matter. It's about getting their feet wet, as Jeff Weltman said, and getting them playing in Jamal's system, and getting them acclimated and feeling comfortable on the floor.
That putback slam was beautiful.
Yeah,
it really was. That was something to get excited about. But so let's talk about the guy. Let's talk about him, Jaylen Suggs. The way too early overreactions so far, guys. As to, is he the savior? Is he the starting guard?
He's certainly a foundational piece, isn't he? He does everything from, forget about the stats. It's the hustle. It's throwing himself on the floor, getting deflections. We saw the block in the first game against the Warriors, stealing the ball. He's just everywhere. He just seems to be involved in whenever we're playing well. He can obviously score the ball from all three levels. He can get to the line. He can shoot the three. He can hit that pull up mid range. He's a good rebounder for his size. Again, I think his assist numbers would be better if we shot the ball a little bit more efficiently. But yeah, the kid looks good.
He's a strong boy.
We've seen this in Summer League before, so we need to hold our expectations back a little bit. But it's exciting.
You're not prepared to declare in the star that we've been looking for and the savior of the franchise yet. Then
not yet. Let's see, because we've got to remember, we're going to talk about depth shortly. There's a lot of minutes to go around us, the guards on the roster. So it depends on how much time these guys are going to get, really. I think it's going to be an important part.
Yeah, he's looking good, though. So now from Jaylen to Franz, to the after game one, the bust of the draft. G, any thoughts, mate?
Oh my God, they don't stop, do they? They don't stop. The kid is 19 years old. He's played 50 minutes in the summer league. He's got 15 points on 6 of 15 shooting. You know, oh my God, give him a chance. We're not just gonna get amazing overnight. It's gonna take time. Chemistry's got to be built.
It's like us.
But these players aren't in rhythm either. So they've literally just, he got drafted 2 weeks ago, and he's only got to know his new teammates. The rest, like I mentioned earlier, of the summer league roster, he's probably never met. So end of the day, we said it before. We trust the front office. The front office targeted him at 8. They were very happy with him at 8. So we've got to trust the front office. And, he's a key part of the future. They brought him in because they can see what he can do, be it offensively or defensively. We've not had a chance to see it because he's played 50 minutes. So, my gosh, give him a chance, isn't it?
So far he seems to have been very versatile. We've seen him do a bit of everything, haven't we? We've seen him hit a 3 or 2. He's put a few shots down. He's made a couple of assists. He's been pretty strong on the defense. I would classify it as he's shown potential, but unlike some of the other top picks, he's not had that standout performance. But he appears quite versatile and he's got potential, and that's surely what we want from a rookie, somebody who's got potential.
and he's 19. What was Kobe Bryant doing when he was 19? You know, what was some of the Dirk Nowitzki? He was probably still playing in college somewhere, or you know, in Germany. So the fact he's with an NBA roster, he's going to get better by playing with better players. So let's just give him some time.
He's also had
Mate, at 19, I was drunk most nights.
He's also had a few possessions defensively where he looked like the part. And I think it was in the first game, he got a couple of calls against him, which I didn't agree with. I think there were a few bailout calls where I thought he played really well defensively. So, yeah, we'll see.
And so now let's go on to the next subject of panic, Cole Anthony's shooting. So, G, what's your thoughts on that one?
Well, again, it's exactly like Wagner, isn't it? Cole Anthony's, we've seen what he can do last season. You know, he was averaging 13 points a game. He really stepped into his own the second half of the season. He can shoot the ball well. He won 2 games for us at the buzzer. So I'm really not worried that, you know, he shot 3 of 19 from the field in his first 2 games. He's probably been off all summer, having a barbecue, having a few beers like us. So, you know, it's going to take time to get back into shape. And we've said it earlier, Summer League, it really doesn't matter if we win. But what I'd like to see him do is, if you're having these, you know, down shooting performances, is try and impact the game in other ways. You know, try and stuff the sheet, getting rebounds, getting steal, getting your hands in the passing lanes, just trying to influence the game in other ways. And then once you get your confidence back and your rhythm, then the shooting will come, because we know he's a capable shooter. So again, really not that bothered about his shooting slump. So let's just move on, I think.
I've been loving the leadership he's been showing, talking to everybody, encouraging others, even though he's not necessarily he hasn't had 2 good games, let's be honest. But I've just loved that he's not hidden. He's carried on. He's tried to play. It's what it is. I'm really not too worried personally. I agree entirely. So let's come to the new cult hero that we have, Mr. Teamer, on the Summer League team. Interesting addition to the squad, and he really has become a cult hero in those 2 Summer League games. Is he worth the pickup, Mikey?
Yes, 100%. Those Latvian locks, those blonde locks with the tattoos and he's absolutely ripped, isn't he? He's just a massive unit. He looks huge out there. No, I think he's he reminds me a little bit. I might get killed for this, for
Ivan Drago.
No, well, there's that. I was actually going to say Dwayne Bacon. The ball touches his hands. There is no way anybody else is getting a pass from him. He is putting a 3 up or he's taking a shot. So, but no, he's I think he could be a good addition to the end of the roster. He's 29, so you can look at him as a veteran who, he's not an NBA veteran, but he's played a lot overseas and he's got a lot of international experience. So, I think he could be a fun addition. Can you imagine this young group with Robin Lopez, Rolo, and Giannis Teamer? It's just going to be funny.
It's a bit carnage.
It's going to be.
You just know they'd embrace it. You can see exactly the type of guys that them pair are.
But it's fun.
I don't know if you two would have heard Jeff Veltman interviewed during the game. He was praising Giannis for coming over. But one phrase I picked up on, and I don't know if this is something, and the words were, our fans have embraced him clearly. He's a great guy. He's a hard worker. He plays for the team. Even in the short experience that we've had him with us, had him meshing with our group, he's a team first guy. So he's lifted everybody up. And I'm really happy that he's able to show himself to the league. Now, is that we've done him a bit of a favour in bringing him over to let others look at him, as opposed to actually thinking of taking him ourselves? I don't know if I'm reading too much into something that he said in the interview, but it was very definite phrasing able to show himself to the league.
You've got a valid point. You've got a very valid point. I'm not sure. We're going to touch on it, but I'm not sure we're going to use that 15th roster spot. And if you're bringing in Timo, you really want him to play, don't you?
And would you take him as a two? Would he? You know, he's been earning decent money in Europe. Would he want to take a two-way contract? I don't know.
Well, if he took a two-way, then you might get the odd game here and there, and the way he's been performing, albeit in summer league, he can be a contributor. He reminds me of, dare I say it, like the Morris twins. I don't like the Morris twins, but they come in, really? they do their job, they hit the odd three, and they stand tall. And I think championship teams need those kind of players. And for me, he fits that kind of mold. So even if we bring him in, sign him, there might be an asset for him down the line if we don't keep him. So, no, I like him. I'd give him a chance. I'd give him that last roster spot myself.
It certainly feels like they're showcasing him to everybody. I'm not sure it's necessarily set in stone.
You know what I'm like. You know what I'm like with words. I listen to what people say, and it was just that phrase, "able to show himself to the league," that I picked up on. I rewound it several times on the broadcast last night. Well, when I watched that bit this morning, and it just rang with me, and I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. So, new weekly feature. Ref Rant, where Geraint gets to breathe fire at the consistently inconsistent officiating calls. So, G, last night was potentially your first opportunity of the season with the contact that Cole and Jaylen were receiving and the subsequent technicals from it. Did you have any opinions on it, mate? Do you want to breathe a bit of fire?
Well, funnily enough, I haven't had a chance to watch last night's game because I've had a very
job,
heavy
mate.
day
Otherwise,
at
you'd be on
work.
a full rant.
Yeah, so I'll be watching it later on now. I obviously know the score and everything, but no, I haven't seen it as yet. So was it Mark Davis by any chance, or was it a Summer League official?
You're not going to like him.
No.
He's not going to be your favourite ref, mate, because there's the technical on Jaylen was for him illustrating the contact that he'd been having. Unfortunately, he was showing the referee by actually taking hold of the referees. Yeah, got hold of the referee, and he got a technical for it. But it was quite clear that he was illustrating that this is what's been happening to me constantly. So the ref, you're having one.
No. Should have told the referee to go to spectators, I think.
Mate, it'll be a regular. Put it this way, I do think we'll be having it as a feature.
I think Cole's tech. I think he had a good shout on that because Mobley just ran over him. Like
he got nailed, didn't he?
He got absolutely nailed, and I honestly deserves a tech for that.
And his reaction, that came. You didn't have any doubt. And the audio came across as to what he actually said on the broadcast as well. It was that loud.
Is it repeatable?
Not on this pod. Not unless we're changing policy.
But he was right. Cole was right. He got absolutely run over by Mobley. But there we go. It happens.
Yeah. Anyway, so now let's move on to the depth chart time. And let's go for it. Mikey, who are you going for as your starting five? And I don't mind whether you're assuming, obviously we've had this sort of indication that J.I. and Markel are both close.
Okay.
So you can do it as you want. You can either do it with them fit or without.
Well, before I tell you what we're going to do, it was about a week ago, I posted a rough depth chart on Twitter, and some people absolutely killed it. And I'm thinking, I'll go through why I put what I put. But I had Harris above Suggs, and I'll talk about that why in a minute. But now, John Hammond came out last week and said there's a very good possibility Fultz is going to be ready for the beginning of the season. So if that's the case, Fultz is your starter. I would also start Suggs and Harris alongside J.I. and Wendell. Now, if Fultz isn't healthy, you would start Suggs, Harris, and I'd slide a Kiki in at 3. That would be my starting 5.
G?
Yeah. I go with it. Well, like you said, if Fultz and JI are fit and healthy, then they're absolutely in the team. No second guessing. So Harris is a tough one, isn't it? We haven't seen that much of him, but I get what Mikey says. You know, he's got that veteran kind of leadership. But for me, I'd like to just give Suggs the keys and just let him run and just see what he's all about. So for me, I would go Fultz at the 1, Suggs at the 2, Okiki at the 3, primarily for his defense, Isaac at the 4, and Carter Jr. at the 5s. I feel that having the forward positions locked down with Okiki and Isaac be very reliable on defense. And then Fultz and Suggs, see what they can do. Carter Jr. can do a bit of everything. So yeah, that's my 5.
I'm tempted by Fultz and Cole, Markel and Cole Anthony, and letting Jaylen Suggs and RJ come off the bench together. I'm also quite tempted by Schumer playing the 4 off the bench, so he comes in to take over for JI. So I've edited this so many times. I'm really undecided on this. But my last one before we came on was I'd gone Fultz, Cole Anthony, Gary Harris, JI, and Wendell Carter Jr. as the starter, with then Jaylen Suggs, RJ, Terence Ross, Schumer, and Moe coming off the bench. But I think that you look at this, there's so much interchangeable that you can really experiment and mix things up nicely. I'm sure that we're going to see Jaylen Suggs and Cole playing together in the league. It's really quite interesting.
I think you have to find a way of starting Suggs. Now, on my depth chart I put on our Twitter account, I actually had at the 2 guard Harris starting with Suggs not coming off the bench, but it doesn't mean that you don't give Suggs starters minutes. You just bring.
Yeah.
I think for me that you've got Terence. Now this is whether we make a trade or not before the start of the season. And that could
absolutely.
Change,
this is on what we have today on the 12th of August.
But to me, we've got 2 veterans who are more than likely going to be part of a rotation. One of them is Gary Harris, who's a legit starting 2 guard, and Terence Ross. So to me, you want a veteran with whichever group you've got on the floor all the time. So for me, that's why I would start Harris at the 2 or 3. You can, again, it's interchangeable. Ross is obviously better coming off the bench, but for me, I think you've got to start Harris, whether that's next to Fultz and Suggs, or next to Suggs if Fultz isn't healthy. But I think it's important that you've got 1 or 2 of those on the floor for most of the time.
I am literally with mine. I am 50-50 as to whether it's Cole coming on as a starter or whether it's Suggs coming on. It's one of those 2 that's sliding in and out. And who do we think's getting minutes then? Besides that, obviously Franz is going to see some minutes. You think we'll see Robin Lopez and James Ennis, Michael Carter-Williams get minutes as kind of your more experienced players just to assist along?
Ennis isn't signed, is he, at the moment? He's a free
Is he
agent.
not?
No.
I apologise.
No. So my bench then, just going back to my rotation, I got Bamber at the 5, obviously.
Yep.
I got Franz Wagner at the 4, but of course you've got his brother as a 3rd string then as power forward. I had Ross as a small forward, and then I had Hampton and Harris as an interchangeable 2 guards with Anthony at the 1. But then that leaves, Michael Carter-Williams, Moe Wagner, and Lopez as the 3rd string. So whilst there's a lot of offense on my bench, there isn't that much defense. So I'm just looking at it now thinking Okiki might be better in the second unit. So Coach Mosey's got a job on his hands, just trying to get that rotation right, because I'm just looking at my bench now and it's all offense and very little defense. So it will be interesting to see what he does.
It's again, everybody's going to have an opinion on it, and there's no right and wrong answers, because at this point in time, we genuinely do not know who is going to mesh better as from a starting point of view. Look at somebody like Terence Ross. There was people wanted him to start last season, but he is a guy who's expressed, I would rather come from the bench, and feels his best game is from the bench. And there are players like that who would rather have a particular role. And we've yet to find that out with certain ones. And we don't know how, you don't know how J.I. and Markel are going to come back, how fit they are going to be to start with, and what there's going to be minutes restrictions surely around them.
Well, at the moment, you can look at the depth and think, well, there's a possible 11-man rotation there.
Yeah.
When you look at Fultz, Cole, Hampton, Suggs, Harris, Okiki, Ross, Isaac, Frank, Carter Jr. and Bamba. So you've got to find play. I think Harris has gone by the deadline regardless, because you need to get something for him on an expiring deal. So moving him then frees up a little bit more playing time at the guard position with Hampton, Suggs, Cole and Fultz. So you can see a regular rotation there with those four. And then obviously
don't forget Michael Carter-Williams either, mate.
But he's your backup though, isn't it? I don't foresee him playing unless you start picking up a few injuries and you need somebody, because he can play the 1-2 or the 3, can't he, with his size defensively? Yeah.
They're going to be the games that he gets minutes where we need a strong defensive presence just to either hold what we've got or stop the bleeding.
Yeah. But
when we play Miami and Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
Well, that won't stop the bleeding then for Michael, will it? MCW against Lowry.
No chance. So for me, I would go Fultz, Suggs, Harris, Isaac and Carter Jr. starting. That would be my 5.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
No,
I'd
solid.
be happy with that.
Solid.
So what do we think around this? These 2 roster spots that we've got. We've obviously got the 2-way left, which last season was, at the end of the season, was Sidarius Thornwell had got one of those, and Jason Randall got the other. Was it Randall?
I honestly
was he signed?
Remember.
I think was it Brazdeikis? I can't remember.
I can't remember which one had got the other 2-way spot. So I anticipate that we will fit somebody into that role. I anticipate that somebody will come from there. What do you think about the open roster spot that we have, and the use of the trade exception, taking on a contract perhaps?
Yeah, it's certainly something we can do in order to gain assets, as a salary dump for somebody else. Whether they stay on the roster, depending on who it is, then remains to be seen. I'd like us to try and get somebody who can be developed and help us. We mentioned Tima earlier. I'd like him to get a spot, be it the 2-way contract, or if it's just a normal roster spot, that'd be great. But it's just looking at the free agents out there. Slim pickings, really. Whilst we love JJ Redick back, we've touched upon this before, it's probably not happening. He's probably going to Brooklyn, where his wife and his children reside.
Joining Coach Clifford.
Yeah, I know. But having a look at some of the others, potentially, I don't know, Stanley Johnson, Isaac Bonga. We've touched upon James Ennis is a free agent. He'd be a good vet. Taco Falls there, but we're locked in at centre. But who doesn't love taco time? So I don't know. Let the front office sort it out.
Yeah, that's what they get paid the big bucks for. Mikey,
yeah.
Any opinion on that, or you agreeing with G there?
I agree. I think leave that roster spot as it is and see what happens up until the deadline, and see if we can absorb something in with that trade exception. If they are going to fill it, I'm more than happy if they bring back James Ennis. I think he'd be another very good veteran who's played well with us since we acquired him. So yeah, I'd be happy with either of those sort of scenarios playing out, really. But it doesn't really matter. Look, we've got the young core already in place. We just need to find them as many minutes as we possibly can. And
Yeah,
put them in a good position to win.
I think we all feel that it's a season of development. It's been nice to see games won, like we said, but for us this season, it's not necessarily the be all and end all. It's more about the development of the players, and that word identity is used an awful lot, but it's forming that team identity.
I don't remember what podcast I was listening to this week. It might have been the Sixth Man Show, or but one of them they basically said this season the best possible scenario is playing meaningful games as late into the season as we possibly can. So if we're playing for that 10th spot in the play-in tournament, whether we miss out on it or not, at least getting the young guys meaningful games and meaningful minutes and being competitive, I think that can only be a good thing. We don't want to lose. We don't want another season of tanking. We don't want a 15, 20 win season, do we? And end up feeling, I don't know, a bit flat about what we've got on this roster, because that's what's going to happen if we don't win many games this season. So
I agree. You
have to go out and try and win as many games as you can, but the situation with the roster, that's not likely going to happen. But yeah, playing meaningful games as late as you can, I think is a good thing.
I think this is one of those subjects that we would genuinely love to hear anybody's opinion on, because it's, you know, stick your comments on Twitter, stick your comments on the podcast links at the end. We'd love to know what your opinions are on it, because it's a really interesting question. And I think if we get one or two, we can sort of alert to it next time round when we do another pod as to what people's thoughts were, and it'd be interesting. So anyway, guys, thank you for your company as always, and to everybody out there, thank you for watching and listening. Please subscribe to the podcast and hit the notification button so as not to miss any future episodes. If you haven't done already, check out the previous episode where we were joined by Magic legend Darrell Armstrong for a really, really interesting conversation. I think it's been one of our favourite episodes that we've ever done. And you can find all the links in the podcast description, and also the links on our website at orlandomagic.uk.com. As I said, leave your comments and questions. We love hearing from everyone. And if you aren't already doing so, make sure that you follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. All are at Orlando Magic UK. So from Mikey, Geraint and myself,
before we go,
until
Paul,
next time, go on, mate. Go on.
Have a good holiday, G. Have a good week away.
You see, you stole it. You little, you dived in there. It was going to be go Magic and have a good holiday, G. Outrageous. You stole me.
I just had to
me
steal
line
it
at the end there. Outrageous, mate.
Sorry, Paul.
Thank you, boys.
Enjoy,
mate. It is actually, we don't actually know when we're next recording one, do we? Because we haven't. We've got scheduling conflicts as a result.
We do. We'll let everybody know.
Yeah, we will. We'll be on there. So you won't miss us for too long. So until next time, everyone, go Magic.